We're about to hit an onslaught of game releases, most of them huge, and I want to know, is it possible for us to beat them all in the time frame we've got? Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joesephyr, and as you can see I am entering my villain era. I'm here to talk about length of games, because we have a lot of them, and as an RPG fan who is very eagerly awaiting most of the releases coming in the next 4 or 5 weeks, I want to be able to play them all. But they're all so big that I'm not sure how much time it will take to dedicate to each of those games for us to get through them all. Now, of course, we don't always have to go through these games the day they come out, but as a content creator, I'd like to provide coverage to those games. And those of you who are in the game of content creation knows that speed is of the essence. So we're going to start with January 26th, which is 2 days from now. We have 2 major releases. One of which is going to be very appealing to RPG fans, and the other one, well, that one's mainly for me. But first of all, we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Now, I played Like a Dragon, so Yakuza 7, not too long ago, and absolutely loved it. We played it, like me and my friends played it, we platinumed the game, loved it, and we clocked in maybe 80 or 90 hours to get the platinum trophy for it. Well, the main story length for the game, as according to Twisted Voxel here, says that it would take about 72 or so hours just for the main story of Infinite Wealth. And if you've been keeping up with Infinite Wealth, you know there's the Sujimon, there's the Animal Crossing style island getaway, there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. And if you're trying to keep up with these RPGs before we get completely snowed under in them, then you might have to put some hours into playing it. And I, much like the article says here, recommends that Yakuza fans do not marathon the game without sleep and should instead enjoy the game bit by bit. Clearly, these people have never done content creation where you have to keep up with these things. But I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how quickly people go through Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth when Persona 3 Reload and FF7 Rebirth, etc., start to come out of the woodwork, because it's an established franchise that everybody loves, and reviews for it have already started coming in, and they're really good. It's, I think, the best reviewed Like a Dragon game we've seen up until this point, according to Metacritic. I've only played Yakuza Like a Dragon, so LAD7, and I'm really excited for this, so I want to get stuck into it. So I think I'm gonna put this pretty high on my priority list because it's the first to arrive, and also going to take a big chunk of my time to get through as much of it as I want to get through. So next up we have Tekken 8. Now, I know that this isn't an RPG, but for those of you who don't know me particularly well, I'm a massive fighting game player, and recently playing a lot of Granblue Fantasy Relinked demo and then playing Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising has really reawakened my love for fighting games. And we've got a big one coming in 2 days, which is Tekken 8. So in terms of length of time it takes to beat Tekken 8, it's a fighting game. Its story mode is not going to be all that long. So it's probably going to be, I think it's estimated to be around 6 or 7 hours long, maybe a little bit less than that. So realistically, I think in terms of sort of streaming or anything like that, and if you'd like to follow along with any of the games that I'm playing, because I plan to play all of these, please do come and give us a follow on Twitch and join in. This is probably going to be the highest priority for me, because not only do I think it's going to be the quickest to play, but little fun fact for you all, I'm actually going to EVO this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, in Vegas, which is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, because I've grown up with fighting games and I've wanted to do this since I was 15 years old. So I'm going to need to put practice in to Tekken 8, which is something I'm sure many of you won't have to worry about, in order to kind of progress and continue to hone my skills in it. Reviews have come in for this. 90. So it has begun. We're getting a crazy amount of highly reviewed games off the bat. And side note, Prince of Persia's there. And I really like that game too. That one's nice and short. If you haven't played that already, you should. Okay, so now we're moving a week forward. So probably still knee deep in Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth if you're wanting to play that. But if not, you have Persona 3 Reload and Granblue Fantasy Relink. So we don't obviously know for sure how long Persona 3 Reload is going to be, but we can make a pretty solid estimate off the fact that it's a remake of Persona 3. And when I look at this, I'm worried. I'm not going to lie to you, I am worried. So according to howlongtobeat.com, which is a fun website, if you've never checked it out, please do, 82 hours just for the story, without completionism. Not only have I now got one 80-hour game that I probably haven't finished in a week, whilst also playing Tekken 8, there's now another one that I want to play, and I really want to get into the themes of Persona 3 and really absorb the story of it, where I probably haven't done with Persona games in the past. That's 160 hours plus in 2 weeks. Luckily, after this point, we've got a little bit of a gap before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out. Well, I would say that, except we have another game on the horizon that's released the day before Persona 3 is. So Granblue Fantasy Relink kind of took me by surprise, as you've probably seen in recent videos that I've made about the game, and I've really dived into the demo, really loved it. But it's being released in this massive onslaught of RPGs, and I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to play all of these? Well, this one in particular, I actually think takes slightly higher precedence for me, or priority, than Persona does, as much as I hate to admit it. And there's one reason for that, it's that it's a predominantly multiplayer game, and I want to be able to play it with either stream audience members or friends, just to chill with a new multiplayer game that's an RPG that gives that Phantasy Star Online, Monster Hunter feel, because I've been looking for a game like that for ages, and Monster Hunter Wilds isn't due out for another year. Well, this one, apparently the main story's not too bad. It's 20 hours, according to Reddit, which take that with a pinch of salt. But if you're doing all of the side quests in the main story, and then you're doing the actual quests like the raids and the hard bosses and the completionism, looking at 80 to 100 hours. So you can see my problem here. It's all well and good if you only take an interest in one or two of these games, but I am sure that I am not alone in going, I kind of want to play all of these, and we are in February. February. That's before we've known anything else that's coming out over the course of 2024. And we're pretty sure that Nintendo's going to have some crazy releases alongside all of this other stuff that's going on too. So at a push, we're looking at between 250 to 300 hours worth of game time released in the space of 1 week. That is at least 10.5 full days of gaming content. And from this point, if Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is high on your priority list, which if you're an RPG fan like myself, I'm sure it probably is, you've got 4 weeks to do that. It's doable, and that's why I'm making this video, because it seems really overwhelming. And there are games being released between February 1st and 2nd and February 29th, which is when FF7 Rebirth comes out, like Helldivers 2, Suicide Squad if that appeals to you. There are other games coming out in that period, but I'm focusing on just like the big hitter RPGs and Tekken 8. And I'm already going, I need to be playing games like 8 hours a day if I want to even try and get through these. And I have a job, you probably have a job. How are we going to do this? Of course, this then brings us to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is going to be the crown jewel for many RPG players. And according to this article from GameSpot, which was released back in September, there's 100 hours of gameplay within Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, this is a quote from Naoki Hamaguchi, who is the game's director, and that's to be taken with a pinch of salt, because the last time I took it literally when a developer told me that there were however many hours there were in a game, it was Forspoken, and I was told that there were 50 hours of gameplay in the main story, and it turned out there was 12. I try and not to take it too seriously, but I know that this game is a lot larger than Remake, there's a lot more openness to it, there's a lot more to explore, and people can really lose themselves in that. So unless you're like me, and you tend to gun to the finish line as quickly as you can, you're probably gonna find at least 100 hours worth of content in here. So this is something that I think is really interesting to look at from both perspectives. On one hand, it's amazing. You know, in a space of a month, RPG fans are eating good. Like, there's so much to play. If you're not worried about playing it on release and you are detached enough from the internet that you're not worried about spoilers for story, because let's face it, we all worry about that a little bit when it comes to major RPG releases. Luckily, one of them has already been made, which was Persona. The rest of them, though, that's fair game. Like, story spoilers are going to be a thing. But on the other hand, if you're an adult with a busy life, it's overwhelming, and having to make choices between which games you want to play when you take an interest in all of them is a sensation as an RPG fan I've certainly never felt before, but I'd love to know if that's ever happened to you. And as I say, I've mentioned, what, 4 or 5 games? 5 games in total so far in this video? That's not to mention all of the other games that are coming out in February alone. So again, we're back at GameSpot here. But like I said, Granblue Fantasy Relink, you've got Persona 3. Suicide Squad is something that some people are really interested in. Helldivers 2, I'm interested in. Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered, I'd like to play that. Mario vs Donkey Kong, I'd love to play that. Last Epoch looks very interesting. If you like your sort of loot 'em games, that looked really interesting as well. Shiren the Wanderer, another RPG. There's so much in just February. And then in March, we have Dragon's Dogma 2, another massive blockbuster RPG that I actively want to play. Rise of the Ronin, brilliant. Princess Peach Showtime, I'm also interested in that. Unicorn Overlord, as I said, that's a game that a lot of people are showing attention to. Then in April, Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This is all stuff that's been announced before this year had even started. So I'm just releasing this video because I want to know how each of you are approaching this onslaught of games. Are you interested in all of the games that I've mentioned here? I'm only obviously talking about games I'm interested in. But maybe there's more here that you're interested in that I'm not. Maybe there's less. I just want to know if you guys are having the same issue I am, in that you're having to make choices between the games you really love because there's only 24 hours in a day. So yeah, that's everything I have to talk about. We have too many good games. There are too many good games. And I must admit, sometimes I miss the times when I was a kid and you get maybe 1 or 2 games a year that were like big hits and you were playing them endlessly and you were like extracting every piece of information you could out of that one game because you know you weren't getting another one for a long old time because you either didn't have the money or there weren't any games being released like that in the 90s. But again, I wanted to open the board to you guys and see what your opinions were. So do comment below, and if you're not sure what to say, just type the word algorithm because it helps the channel a great deal. We're on a big old upswing when it comes to momentum on this channel, and I want to keep that up. So that's why I want to be able to provide as much coverage for all of the games that I mentioned today, and I'll probably bring Granblue Fantasy vs Rising into it as well because I really do like that game, to you guys. So do subscribe to the channel if you like the sound of that, and give the video a like and click the notification bell for notifications on when I'm releasing more videos, because there's going to be plenty of them, hopefully, provided I'm not spending all my time playing Yakuza and Granblue and Persona and Final Fantasy VII and Tekken and versus Rising. You get my point. And if you'd like to support the channel further, perhaps you'd like to consider clicking the link for my Patreon in the description box below, where you can see lots of different benefits that you can get, including title cards that are made especially for you for this channel. And I appreciate every single person that's done so in the lifespan of this journey, and I'm very, very grateful and always will be. But until next time, I'll see you guys then, and by that time we'll hopefully have gotten a couple of these games out and we can get our hands on it and get a feel for it, and we'll enjoy the journey together, and we'll lose our lives to RPGs for the next few months. So thank you very much again. I'll speak to you later. Take care.